Hey. Whoa. Hello. So, something you need to know about me is that I took my path through higher education slightly meanderingly. I started off in life sciences, and Orgo made no sense. So I switched to English literature, and then my parents were afraid that they would have to pay for everything. So I took a very useful U-turn into global development. And I spent my last semester of undergrad in Shanghai studying global development. And I read about 3/4 of the Wikipedia page on China before I got there. So I totally knew what to expect. Crowds, sketchy political goings-on, check, and Jetson-like cityscapes, check. What I did not expect was that the highlight of my time in Shanghai would be the night that a man in very short shorts proved everything that I thought I'd learned about China wrong. So we were guinea pigs in this program, and part of what we were doing was a research practicum. And by research practicum, I mean they said, go learn something about China. Bye. And then we went and attempted to learn something about China. The only guidance that we were given was this one-page bullet-pointed list of potential topics. And I looked at it and immediately knew what I was going to study. I was like, what? Because on this list that was made up by my very conservative party member, Chinese professor, was lesbian and gay issues. And so I go to my first class, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna learn how to research maybe, so they're gonna tell me something. This is not a lot of information. And he does. He reads off the first topic, migrant workers, and launches into a 10-minute explanation of why this would make a great topic. I'm like, okay, not my topic. Next topic, the environment. 15-minute explanation of why this would be a great topic. And this goes on, and I'm on the edge of my seat. We're at like 20-minute explanations now, so I can't wait to hear what he's going to say about Chinese queers. And he looks down at the paper and goes, I didn't put this on the list. And I'm like, fuck, are you kidding me? Like, I don't want to research the environment, is my first thought. And my second thought is, fuck it, I'm going to do this anyways. Because I'm a stubborn little shit. So the crowning moment of my undergraduate career was the 45-minute argument I had with my statistics professor supervisor, in which he told me that would probably not make a very effective research topic. And my response was a different version of, but I really, 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 really wanna. And then he gave me another reason, and I repeated that, and I won. So points for me. So I set off to collect stories. Not only did I convince him to let me do the one topic he thought was maybe not the best idea, but instead of crunching numbers and giving him pretty pie graphs like everyone else was doing, I was just gonna sit down and chat with people. Was that okay with him? And he had just given up at this point, so he was like, leave my office. So the first thing I did was, I need to find people to talk to. So I do what makes sense. I went on Google and I typed in lesbians Shanghai, and then really quickly closed my computer because I was in a public place. And then I went over here and I typed in lesbian bar Shanghai, and that was a little bit better. And eventually I found a combination where boobs didn't come up on my screen, and printed out a list of gay bars. And so my research stipend went to cabs to get there, because Shanghai's really, really big, and I don't like walking in heels. Cover to get in the door, and buying people drinks in the hopes that they would still please talk to me after they finished that one. And the shocking part was that people did. And so I spent 4 months in hot pot restaurants and cafes and parks talking to young queer Chinese people. And once I got over the oh my God, these people are talking to me, yes, I realized that the stories that I were collecting actually painted a pretty sad picture. One friend told me that he would be relieved when his parents died because he wouldn't have to be worried that they would find out anymore. Another friend I made told me that she really loved living in China, but she thought that she'd never be happy until she could leave. And I had one friend who told me his coming out story, which basically was he turned 18, came to university, and was like, gay's a thing that people do? Because that was a conversation that no one had ever had with him. These were also stories of life and love and all that fun stuff, but what I was hearing my friends say was that they were afraid, and they were ashamed, and they were worried that this was never going to change in their lifetimes in China. And while these are things that all days I feel some of these things, and some days I feel all of these things, and these are stories that you hear anywhere from Hangzhou to Hamilton, China has a very unique history. While Stonewall was happening in New York City and the gay pride movement was starting, China was still paralyzed by the Cultural Revolution. And my friends don't live in Mao's China, but they still live in a China where it might not get better for them in their lifetimes. And so, after 4 months of research, I presented my findings on December 23rd to my professor, and I was pretty bummed, because what I had found was basically that my friends were afraid that their families, that a political climate that doesn't allow for organization, and a culture where no one talks about it, meant that they couldn't be themselves, and they maybe would never be able to be themselves. So everyone else was really excited that we had finished the semester, no one had failed, and we went out for our celebratory dinner, and I felt kind of bummed. And so we go out for dinner, and we go to Xintiandi, which is kind of what you would get if you mashed up Yorkville and Disney's Mulan, and then like turned it up by like 100, 150, really overwhelming. Shrine to capitalism and spending in the middle of Shanghai. Very, very conservative area. Not really my jam, but they have really good dumplings. So we go into dinner, and we come outside, and something's a little weird going on, and it takes me a moment to realize that I am surrounded by hundreds of pride flags. And I mean, this is unusual anywhere except during a pride parade, but in Toronto you see this flag on doors and windows and people's backpacks and computers, and this is something that I had not seen for 4 months. And I was suddenly surrounded. And so the logical thing to do was to just like launch into the crowd. So off I go, elbows out. And I see the guy that I know I need to talk to. It's this man in obscenely short shorts. And we're talking like December 23rd. It's freezing outside. And he's like jamming through the crowd, and he has this giant umbrella to which he has tied the biggest pride flag I have ever seen. And he's waving it above his head. I'm like, that guy, I need to talk to that guy. So we get over, and I kind of sidle up to him and tap him on the shoulder and do the only thing that makes sense, which is to go, excuse me, what the fuck is going on? And he has this big, goofy grin on his face, and he goes, oh, it's a kiss-in. I'm like, a what? And he points over there. And over there is this giant Christmas tree. And like, it's December 23rd. This is not that big a deal, guys. And earlier in the night, there had been, boyfriends and girlfriends going up and kissing under it, and the tree lights up when that happens. But it was very chaste, gentle kisses, and the tree lights up, and people lightly clap, and a counter goes up, and then it's like, go away, the next person's coming on stage. I look over, and there are 2 really bro-y Chinese guys. One has their hat on backwards, like looking great, going at it. They're just making out under this tree. And people are like clapping and cheering. This is something they're happy about. And to my left is this really old couple holding a flag between them. And to my right is this father with a kid on his shoulders, kid like waving that flag. And this was a community, and this was a space, and they were happy with what was going on. And this guy gives me this grin, short shorts man, gives me this grin, and he goes, yeah, so I put it up on Twitter about 45 minutes ago, which means that we have about 45 more minutes until the cops show up, but it's gonna be really fun until then. Throws his giant umbrella flag back up in the air and runs off into the crowd. And this is something that I had never thought would happen. And I'm really, really sad that my friends couldn't have been there, and I'm really sad that they couldn't have seen that. But for 2 hours, in the middle of the most conservative neighborhood, in the middle of the most capitalist and bastion of the Chinese government in China, there was a safe space. And I'm really glad that I got to see that, and I'm really glad that he proved me wrong. So, thank you, Short Shorts.